It's intermission time. It's great to get out to the movies.
My name is Olivia, and I'm normally producing Intermission, but today I'll be hosting for Megan. And today we have Macon and Blair on the podcast, which we've had before, so we're really excited to welcome you back.
Thank you.
To get started, can you just introduce yourself to the listener who may have not listened to the last episode of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Macon Blair. I'm sometimes a director and occasionally an actor, and sometimes in there a writer. And I just sort of hop around between those three.
And we had you on for your last film, The Toxic Avenger. And The Toxic Avenger, that movie was really about the challenge of taking on like established cult property. And this time we're talking about a much more personal movie to you, Idiots, which is a completely original comedy, kind of like dramedy or action. Yeah, it's really unique, and you've been trying to make it for almost a decade, so it's really cool to be talking about it today.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here. I had a great time last time, which I think was about a year, like almost a year.
Yeah, it must have been
date.
Yeah. And again, we also in this movie you work with Peter Dinklage again, so that's really cool to see that through line.
I like to work with folks again if it's at all possible. That's always fun.
Before you did The Toxic Avenger and Idiots, you've acted in some really dark and violent movies. You did Blue Ruin, which I actually had my dad watch last year at Christmas, and he loved it, which is like such a cool. Yeah, he did. And you also directed I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, and was making, because that's your background, doing really dark and violent movies, was making a comedy something you've wanted to do for a while?
Yeah, I mean, we grew up, Jeremy and myself and our group of friends, we grew up making, our stuff was always very silly and very goofy. It was mostly comedic. And the first movie that Jeremy made was definitely a comedy. And it's happened that the movies that have gotten made have been darker, but there's a whole bunch of unmade, very silly comedies that just never actually got made. So it maybe seems like we lean that way, but that's just because those are the ones that happen to have made it all the way to the finish line.
Why do you think that is? Do you think just Hollywood favors drama over comedy?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think it's just it was the luck of the draw at the time. Like certain ones, we were able to get the right people attached at the right time. We were able to get enough money to do it at the right time. Some are smaller or larger. I mean, one of the benefits of this one is that it's not very effects heavy, and it has moments of like mayhem, but it's not really an action movie. So the budget was comparatively quite small, and that was a big aspect of how we were able to get it done. Like had it been twice the budget or whatever, I don't think we would have been able to get it funded. So that was a big part of it for sure.
I do want to talk about the journey that you had trying to get this movie made. But before we get into that, a question we always ask everyone that comes on the show is, what film would you say currently describes your life right now?
Parenthood, probably.
And then just to get into some general movie tastes, what's the funniest movie ever made in your opinion?
I've used this answer all the time talking about this particular movie, but it's the right answer. To me, Repo Man it makes me laugh every time. And I'll tell you what it is. It's the guys in the junkyard getting together and just talking over each other and yelling at each other and sort of getting indignant with each other. It's not jokes necessarily or gags necessarily. It's like a bunch of these great characters just barking at each other, and I could watch that all day.
Is that like what you'd say your sense of humor typically is?
Yeah, I think you can see a lot of that in this movie. I mean, it's scripted for sure, but we definitely encouraged the guys, Dave and O'Shea, and they had this great rapport, and so to sort of lean into that and improvise their arguments as long as they possibly could, and that was endlessly entertaining to me. Had I left all that in the movie, it would have been 3 hours long. But yeah, but also I like the Marx Brothers. I really love Bringing Up Baby. That's an older comedy that I watch like once a year that I just find delightful. Blazing Saddles is one that's probably people would go back to a lot. Oh, you know what? I can't believe I didn't say this first. No, I'm sorry. I'll reset that. I do love Repo Man, but Airplane is probably, if you're talking about just strictly speaking a comedy, that would be my favorite one.
I haven't seen it yet, but that's on my list.
Yeah, that's a good one.
On that note, what movie, in your opinion, has the best ensemble cast?
One, that I really, really love a lot is the Taking of the Pelham 123, where these bad guys take over a train and hold it for ransom. And so it's everybody on the train, the passengers and the criminals. And then it's all the sort of officials around all of New York that are sort of all talking to each other and trying to figure this thing out. So it's multiple locations and multiple clusters of people all kind of, again, barking at each other. And I love that ensemble very much. It's a quintessential New York movie. I can watch that at any time.
Is there a movie that scared you the most as a kid that still kind of scares you now?
I mean, it's not that it still scares me in the same way, but I saw the original Nightmare on Elm Street when it came out, and that one really shocked me. I also saw the original Texas Chainsaw at a very young age, and that one still scares me tonally, just like the vibe of that movie, especially when they're up in the attic, just leaves me really unsettled. But another one that's not a horror movie, but that absolutely terrified me because I didn't understand it. And as an older person, it does not have this effect on me anymore. But I saw it on TV when I was probably 6 years old, and that was Bonnie and Clyde. And what happened was, it was just sort of people talking. And so I was actually kind of bored by it. And I didn't understand what the context was. It was just grown-ups in a car talking, and they had old-timey clothes on. And then all of a sudden, they come up to the roadblock, and they get sort of surrounded by the posse, and they get machine gunned. And it goes on and on and on. And I had never seen anything like that. And I think my mom didn't. Either she didn't know I was watching it, or maybe she didn't understand that scene was coming up. Or at any rate, it really, really freaked me out, and I was upset for for some days following that, for sure.
You know what's funny, as you're telling that story, I have a little sister who's 7, and when I was watching Blue Ruin with my dad, she was in the room, and I was like, I feel like that's gonna be one of those movies for her where she's like, that movie scared me so bad, but also I was confused by it.
Yeah.
What's something that you learned as an actor that you consciously bring into your directing?
I think maybe not being afraid or not being fearful to try things just because it may totally flop, and it's sort of like that could be a hard thing perhaps to get over because you want to feel like you're on top of your game, especially when there's a crew gathered around or a camera pointed at you. But I think like having that comfort in or at least the comfort and being able to look foolish, I think was something that perhaps didn't come very naturally to me, and I kind of had to practice a bit because it can yield cool stuff, but it's not a natural condition.
Okay, let's just get into your movie, Idiots. So I have the cast here, which is it's pretty awesome. We have Dave Franco, Mason Thames, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Killer Mike,
Kiernan Shipka, Peter Dinklage,
Nick Braun.
Yeah, and then also it's because they're going on this road trip. We shot it in Atlanta, and there's the bulk of the cast we cast locally, so there's a ton of really great actors who were based out of there. Melanie Lauren, Naja Bradley, Lynn Wanless. There was just a ton of folks, and so this is one of those movies that like the draw is the ensemble. It's not really,
For sure.
it's not super action. It's not super special effects. It's the ensemble. So we got extraordinarily lucky in that regard.
So without giving anything away, can you give the listener like a little description of the film?
Yeah, it starts off pretty straightforward. It's two guys who are not especially qualified for their job to transport kids across the state to rehab. And the movie starts when they take charge of this one kid who comes from a very wealthy family, and it turns out that he's not just troubled, but a deeply dangerous psychopath, and that causes problems for them along the way.
And I have to say, before we get into the questions, I tried to not look at anything before I watched the film just so I could experience it. And I was so surprised and taken aback when that tone shift happens the first time.
Right.
I don't want to give anything away, but basically like that scene in the hotel where that shift happens, I was so surprised by that. I literally was like, oh my God, I was just not expecting that.
That I'm glad. I know that it's sort of a swing, and it maybe doesn't work for everybody. But what I liked was sort of acknowledging the audience's intelligence and familiarity with this type of genre, and sort of like having them understand, like, oh, it's probably going to go a certain direction as far as the relationship with the kid, and then to yank it back the other way. In what is hopefully a surprising way, and sort of reorganize what the stakes are, that it's not just about like helping this kid out and getting him on the straight and narrow. It's more about containing him before he can do more damage to other innocent people. That would be a fun way to take this type of story that would be surprising for people.
The movie, I don't know if you can speak on this, but I know that the movie premiered originally as the Shitheads, and it now has changed to Idiots. How do you feel about the name change?
I mean, honestly, I feel good. Like, in my heart, I still think of it as the original title. It had that title for 13 years or so, but we got to make this movie, and the name change was never forced on us. It was something we chose to do because we could see the writing on the wall as far as what promotion was going to look like. And it's a smaller movie. It's in the summertime. We kind of needed all the help we can get. And just sort of refusing to change the title would feel like a self-own that we didn't want to do. And just making a little pivot to something that still sounds good, still summarizes the movie correctly. It's a little more square, but it means we can promote it a little bit better. So that seemed like a fair trade.
Definitely. And you've been trying to make this film, like I said, since 2017. What made you want to tell this story, and did the long journey to make the film a better film in the end?
Going in reverse order, it did. I think it did. It was just, I wanted to do a big, broad, crazy comedy that had this kernel of darkness inside of it. That was just sort of like a tone that I was interested in, and it was something I felt like we could do well, and I felt like we could do it well on a small budget, and it just, as an indie movie, it felt like something that would be feasible for us to do. And so we tried to make it one time. It didn't work out. We let it sit for a little bit. And when some time had passed and it felt like we could approach a new set of folks about financing, it wasn't that we had this feeling of like, now's the perfect time. It was just like, let's try again, because enough time had passed. And I do think it became a better version of itself, because originally it was much more of a what you would think of like a Will Ferrell comedy, like super all laughs, you know, laughs and comparatively very little darkness. As it went on in my mind, it started to make more sense, and I sort of had a clearer idea of what it could be when those proportions changed a little bit and the darkness came up a little bit, and it became a little bit less of a comedy. We still talk about it as a comedy. That's still fundamentally what it is, but it's definitely got some criminal darkness going on in there that was maybe highlighted a little bit more this time around.
And on that same note, I was going to ask what that decade-long journey to making Idiots taught you about letting a screenplay evolve versus protecting the original idea.
It's not so much that like I had some. I mean, hopefully I learned something along the way. I would be hard pressed to tell you like, oh, this is a lesson that I've learned. But what I do know is that like when I finish writing a script, as soon as I'm done with it, I don't have any idea what I can fix about it. And I don't mean that it's perfect. I just mean like I don't know what to fix because I'm too close to it. It's too fresh. It's too new. And I just sort of will sit there and stare at it, and I can't think of anything meaningful to change about it to make it better. When I can put it in a drawer and step away from it for a while, whatever happens in that distance, I become less precious about it or less connected to it, or whatever the original idea was is less meaningful to me. Then I'm able to identify like, oh, we can cut this whole section out. We don't need that. This character can be more, and I just feel more able to make sweeping changes to the material that I think help it out. And if you have to immediately start shooting something as soon as you're done writing it, you don't have that opportunity. I don't have that opportunity to do that. So I think having that space to kind of step back from it and look at it from afar and kind of evaluate it a little more coldly is helpful.
I can totally see that. And when Dave Franco came on, I know that you had changed his character from an actor in his 50s to something that fit Dave.
It was both. It was kind of the other way around. It was originally the two leads were in their late 40s, maybe like around there. They were older. And that was one of the things that changed. There was a bunch of sort of things that on the page were maybe not huge, but they changed the whole vibe of the movie. And one of them was just thinking like, these guys, these two characters are so they just don't have their lives sorted out. They just are like an accumulation of bad decisions. And that just made more sense to me if they were younger people. And maybe over the course of the movie, you get the sense that they learn a thing or two, maybe not, but it just lands differently when they're younger than it would be if they're like grown ass adults and they're still acting like maniacs. Like one is neither more valid than the other. It's a different movie. That's like, oh my God, you could be grandparents and you're still acting like maniacs. That just lands differently than like, oh, you're in your mid-20s and you know you're still maybe a little underdeveloped. So that was one of the big changes that we made over the course of those years.
I'm curious what made you come up with the idea for this film, and if you're just naturally kind of drawn to characters like you just described that are out of their depth, a little behind where they should be.
I am drawn to those types of characters. I think part of it, there's just I like watching people struggle and have a hard time. And I part of that is comedy. And part of that is like, I feel like an empathy to these guys to a certain extent. But the way that this one came about was because the producer, who's a guy named Alex Orr, and he worked on Blue Ruin, as a matter of fact. So I've known him for many years, and he knew some people who knew. So he had some loose association with guys who did this job. And in the normal course of things, this job is very, transporting kids. It's very regulated and very trained and very responsible. But the guys that Alex knew, they worked for a particular outfit that was kind of like what we described in the movie, where it was a little kind of fly by night and not regulated and not trained, and it seemed like a very precarious thing given that the cargo were vulnerable teenagers. And so there was just something about, like, he had the idea, like, what if we took that sort of premise that these guys were transporting, not literally a prisoner, but they're kind of transporting a prisoner across the state, and it would have that kind of 310 to Yuma, Last Detail sort of vibe, but they would be complete knuckleheads about it. And so he had that general premise and pitched that to me, and I went off and wrote the screenplay and kind of checked in with him about it. So that's kind of how it started. But yeah, it's just the combination of sort of like watching a character where at the exact same time you're kind of laughing because they're stepping in it with both feet, and simultaneously you're hoping for them to get their act together. So there's like a little bit of a push and a little bit of a tension there of kind of like, you're a fucking idiot, but also like, come on, man, you can do better, and like rooting for them.
Yeah.
And so that sort of a vibe in the car between the two guys in front was what I was interested in.
And I have to say, Nick Braun, his acting was so funny to me. Like, he was just cracking me up, his character. He played it so sincerely, which made it funnier because, I just loved every scene he was in.
I agree. He auditioned for the movie back when we first did it, and that was before Succession came out. So it was just sort of like I had no context for this guy. It was just a tape that we got sent, and he did this amazing audition where he did the scene. He was improvising as the character. He went outside and walked around his neighborhood in character and was like interacting with his neighbors, and it was just this totally like fearless audition that I really I never forgot. And I would tell people about it even after the movie was dead. I was like, oh man, but I saw this one great audition. And so all these years later, when the movie came back, we were like, oh geez, I hope we can get Nick, but he's probably too big for us now, because now Succession had come out, and but as it happened, when we reached out to him, he knew that we were working on it, and he was waiting for us to call him. So he had never forgotten. Yeah, he hadn't forgotten about it either. So that was a nice little confluence.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And then my last question for this section is, did you have any reference movies while developing this that either just for yourself or that you sent the cast and crew?
The Last Detail was the big one. 310 to Yuma was another one. Another one that we talked about, even though it sort of tonally has nothing to do with this movie and visually has very little to do with this movie, but something about it made me think about it, which was Night of the Hunter. There was something about like just people on the road and kind of like these fearful situations that I talked about that one a lot, even though it seems like it's on a different planet than this one. Midnight Run was another one because it has that road movie quality, and it does have a sort of action crime element, but to me the whole thing revolves around these two guys bickering, and that's kind of the whole movie. And that's sort of how I thought about this one too, that whatever external mayhem is happening, the sort of the core of the movie is these two guys bickering with each other.
I'm going to this game is called Movie Opinions Heaven and Hell. So I'm going to give you two extreme choices, and you just have to pick which one you'd prefer. Kind of like would you rather. For example,
Okay.
The first one is only watch movies you've never seen, or only rewatch movies you've already seen.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so sinister.
Yeah.
I reluctantly, I would have to say watch movies I have not seen yet.
Yeah.
But it would make me very sad.
I feel like that's the only correct option, but it'd be painful.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's sort of like the painful but true option. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Every movie you watch is 3 hours long, or every movie you make is under 90 minutes.
Every movie I make is under 90 minutes.
Really?
Are we choosing what I would prefer?
Yeah, yeah. No, that just
I
surprises me.
I would. I think for me, what I would want to be doing is more suited to something that's contained and faster. So
That's true.
I would veer towards keeping things under 90 for myself.
Never watch a comedy again or never watch a horror movie.
What on earth are you
Yeah.
doing? I think I have a sneaky cheat for this. I think
Okay.
it would be never watch a comedy again.
And is your reasoning because you can find comedy in other genres? Yeah.
That's it. I think because the things that like I laugh at the most would not be. I mean, there's a whole other second layer to that question about like who's defining what's what. So
Exactly.
if we're just taking it on faith that we are agreeing on the distinctions and that's clear cut, which I think is an impossible thing on the face of itself. But let's just say we can do that, then I think more often than not, I personally would find more humor in movies that I think would be categorized as something like um, a drama or a horror or
Yeah.
something. I,
No,
I, I,
I
I
agree. Like for me, that movie's Twilight. Like that's not supposed to be a comedy, but it's hilarious.
yeah, yeah. Inherent Vice,
Mm-hmm.
I find that movie absolutely side splitting. Um, but I don't think that would, if you were to make like categories, I don't think people would put that in a comedy
Yeah.
category.
Okay, well that's a good answer then. Would you rather rewrite a bad movie or erase a great movie's worst scene?
Oh, rewrite a bad movie.
Yeah.
That's the first easy one you've given me. If you think a movie is great and it's got a bad scene in it, on some level, that bad scene is part of why you think it's great. Either because it
Mm,
makes everything on either side of it stand out in its relative even more greatness, or you forgive its flaws or whatever it is. But if you think the movie is great, then like the one bad scene wouldn't be the worst thing about it. So I would take the other one.
And then last one, would you rather make one perfect movie or make 10 very okay movies?
10 very okay movies, no hesitation. Easiest question of the whole bunch.
Really? Yeah, I guess
Absolutely.
the want is to be making things.
The one is to get yeah, and it's sort of like getting to do it at all around the with those groups of people. That's that is the reward, the sort of the perception of it being. I mean, obviously you hope people applaud and you hope that they like it, and I don't think anybody's setting out to like make a bad movie, but that feels so. I mean, secondary and also entirely out of my control to a certain extent, and so, but getting to sort of get in a scout van and drive around with people that you love and look for places that would look really cool for this particular scene that everybody's imagining and talking about it and laughing about it like that's the big payoff, I feel like. So 10 okay movies, absolutely no hesitation.
I'd probably pick the same thing. And that's all the questions I have for you. To conclude, can you just let the listener, well, two things. One, could you leave the listener with a recommendation first?
A recommendation of a movie
Of
to
a film,
watch.
let's do like a film, a TV show, or even a book that you've been reading or watching lately.
Well, the Burglar is a great crime movie from the 50s with Dan Deryea, and it's just a crime thriller that's really gnarly and nasty and fun. and very cool. A great book. I've been, let's see, Blind Man with a Pistol by Chester Himes.
Mm-hmm.
His whole series is great. The Coffin Head and Grave Digger Jones series. These two cops. I think they would be the 1960s. That's a great series. That's fun. I don't watch as much TV, so I don't know as much of the cool stuff that's out. But I did just rewatch both seasons of American Vandal, and I think that's one of the best things I've seen in like the last 10 years. Do you know that one?
No, but I'm intrigued because I don't watch a lot of TV either.
It's amazing. It's I think, is it on Netflix? I think it's on Netflix. And it's very meticulously produced to resemble like a true crime expose of like 48 hours or something like that. But the production value and the way they set it up, it's very, very authentic. But it's all about like somebody drew a bunch of dicks on the faculty cars at a high school, and that's as if that's the murder that's being investigated. Funny. And then they go in and they do this completely exhaustive forensic investigation about like who could have done it where, but in the process you kind of get to know all these students, and it turns into, without you really being aware of it, this really heartfelt like sort of story about kids and loneliness and acceptance, and it was just like this amazing magic trick. And then they did a second season with a different crime and a different set of characters, but it pulled the same sort of magic trick all over again. So,
is it recent? Did it recently come out?
I feel like it came out. My memory is that it came out close to COVID, so I think it might be like. It's several years ago.
Okay.
I mean, it's not very recent. It's several years ago, but I believe you can find it on Netflix. It's fantastic.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. It was great to talk to you. And then before I forget, where and when can everyone watch Idiots?
August 28th. And it's in theaters. So check your local listings. Tickets are on sale now. But August 28th, it opens wide. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. So great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. To stay in touch, follow our Instagram page at It's Intermission Time and share with your friends. As always, Intermission is produced by Jazeel Chu and Olivia Dean, and of course, hosted by yours truly, Megan Braun. This episode is brought to you by The Synagogue.